Hi everyone, I'm Florian. In our paper we explored the use of FIDO2 security keys in a work environment. As you all know, passwords are still the most common method for user authentication on the web. But passwords have many weaknesses. For example, they can't be phished. Online identities are often only protected by passwords, so phishing is a suitable tool to steal identities, and companies are lucrative targets. Using two-factor authentication can help to counter phishing attacks. However, the underlying problem that passwords can easily be stolen still remains. So this is where FIDO2 comes into play. FIDO2 is a set of standards specifying protocols for user authentication on the web. Until now, FIDO2 is most often used for two-factor authentication, but it can also be used for single-factor authentication, so-called passwordless authentication. FIDO2 authenticators store public key credentials bound to a specific domain name so they can't be phished. For our study, we implemented passwordless authentication with security keys. Instead of entering a username and password, the security key could be used for authentication. However, we required user verification on the security key, so one still have to enter some PIN to unlock the key. We integrated FIDO2-based authentication into a web application of a small company that develops software for the life science sector. The application was used by the company's employees and customers. The new authentication method was completely optional, so participants could choose whether they use the security key or not. We recruited 8 employees to explore whether security keys are suitable to replace passwords. The participants had different positions and jobs in the company, including salespersons, software developers, project and account managers. First, we conducted a workshop where we taught the participants how to use the security key and encouraged them to use them in their daily routine. After the workshop, we let them use the security key for 4 weeks. We collected data via authentication diaries and server logs. Finally, after about 4 weeks, we interviewed the participants to learn about their experience with the security key. The interviews showed that most participants believed that the security key was more secure than passwords. When we asked them why the key is more secure, 5 participants pointed out that you must have the key. Others said that no password is sent over the network, so no one can steal it. Also, the PIN was mentioned as a second factor. Some participants found this extra level of security unnecessary for their online activities. They stated that passwords are secure enough, but they indicated that for specific scenarios like in online banking, a higher level of security can make sense. We identified some adoption barriers mentioned across the interviews. For example, participants raised concerns about being locked out by losing or forgetting the security key. These concerns were only hypothetical in our setting because participants could always fall back to using their username and password. Not being used to the security keys also had an impact on using the key or not. Due to the routine in using passwords, 2 participants reported that they simply forgot to use the key. This problem was probably made even worse because participants used the key only for one web application. For all their other logins, they still used passwords. We analyzed the authentication timings extracted from our server logs. We compared the timings of the different authentication types. The security key was slower than password-based authentication. Especially using the autofill feature in browsers was faster than the security key. We assume that the new and more complex workflow of the security key caused most of the difference in the timings. This needs to be further investigated in future studies. We think the authentication timings are critical for acceptance of the new authentication method. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or ask me in the Q&A at SOUPS 2020. Thank you for your attention.